You're watching State of Texas in Depth on KXAN News.
Good morning and thank you for joining us for State of Texas in Depth. I'm Josh Hinkle. First up, this week a federal judge ruled the state's ban on gay marriage is unconstitutional. Right after the news, we found crowds celebrating in downtown Austin, but the judge put a stay on his injunction pending an appeal, so gay couples cannot marry in Texas right now. We've been following an Austin couple who challenged the state's constitutional ban.
It's a huge victory for us, but it is also a victory for young people who don't have to go through the process that we all went through growing up, of daring to dream.
Attorney General Greg Abbott says this is not the end of the issue's time in court. That, quote, Texas will begin that process by appealing the ruling to the Fifth Circuit. The ultimate decision about Texas law will be made by the Court of Appeals or the U.S. Supreme Court. Abbott, of course, is running for governor. And this issue has certainly made its way into that race. Still the one to watch, even though the candidates don't have any major opponents in this week's primary election. But if Democrat Wendy Davis and Abbott had a matchup today, Abbott would win substantially. That's according to a new poll of 1,200 registered voters. It comes from the University of Texas and our media partner, the Texas Tribune. Abbott has widened his lead over Davis from 6 points in October to now 11 points. That's 47 to 36. In one of the most contentious Republican primaries, the one for lieutenant governor, the poll found no clear winner. Right now, incumbent David Dewhurst leads the pack with 37% of the vote. State Senator Dan Patrick of Houston isn't far behind with 31%. Agriculture Commissioner Todd Staples and Land Commissioner Jerry Patterson are further behind with 17 and 15%.
Well, I don't know. We're going to have to see what the turnout is at the end of the day. We're doing everything we can to go ahead and win this race in the primary on March 4th. But, it depends upon the turnout.
Many predict a runoff in May between Dewhurst and Patrick. Both men have certainly been front and center in the Texas Senate during recent sessions, especially with last year's massive filibuster by Democrats against abortion restrictions.
They did everything they could, including, getting the crowd to chant. I mean, you had House members, Democrat House members, revving up the crowd, trying to drown us out so we couldn't do our business. That's not the way democracy works.
Because Republicans didn't get the vote, Governor Rick Perry called lawmakers back for another lengthy special session. Recently, I spoke with Patrick here in our studio about that night and what he would have done differently had he been leading the Senate instead of Dewhurst. He said, quote, we didn't have to pass the pro-life bill that day on the last day. We had two other bills, a transportation and a criminal justice bill. I would have just passed those two bills and adjourned. The governor would have called us back as he did 10 minutes later, and we would have only had one bill to pass. That would have eliminated the filibuster.
If Sam Houston, Travis, Bowie, and Austin were here today, they would be proud of Texas, but they'd be ashamed of Washington. Illegal immigration is Washington's responsibility, but it's our problem.
In his latest campaign ad, Patrick has moved beyond abortion, instead hitting illegal immigration. But a new political controversy has been brewing over allegations that 3 decades ago, Patrick employed illegal workers at a sports bar he owned. Patrick has blamed dirty politics, denying he knew workers were illegal. In a statement, he said, it appears my political opponents have teamed up with liberals in the media to smear me. Some background on Patrick now. He entered the Texas Senate in 2007. He's also a conservative radio talk show host, Dan Patrick and Friends. And in his bid for lieutenant governor, he earned the endorsement of former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. In the statewide poll, each of the Republicans lead the lone Democrat running, State Senator Leticia Vandepute, by at least 9 points. I recently asked the senator what would happen to Democrats in Texas if she and Davis don't win in November.
I think that whether you're a Democrat or a Republican and whether we fall short or not, it's still going to be the same families talking about the issues that are important to them.
The poll shows the only other runoff possibility this primary election is the Republican race for Attorney General. That would be between Texas House member Dan Branch and State Senator Ken Paxton, who have 42% and 38% respectively. Railroad Commissioner Barry Smitherin is left with 20%. Coming up, we go in depth with Jim Henson from the Texas Politics Project, the group that prepared all these poll results. His insight into what the numbers really mean for the candidates next on State of Texas in Depth.